Hello and welcome to another segment of Supreme Feminine Essence, The Gifts You're Born With. I'm Mia Saenz, your host, and with me this segment is Maitreya Miranda. Welcome!
Hi, thank you.
How are you? It's wonderful to have you from England. So,
Yeah,
even though
part
this
of
will be
fun.
international, it's yay! You're representing your continent. Yay!
Yeah.
So it's wonderful, or your small island, I should say. Wonderful. So share with us, please, your journey. It was a long one. You wrote a book, and it took you 14 years to write the book. So you've been on this journey, I think you told me before, since 1996?
No, actually, that's when what I say as Spirit's descent happened. That was in 1996. But I had been connected with Spirit all my life. I'm the daughter of a Lutheran pastor, and even as a child, I would have long conversations with God, way before Neil Donald Walsh started writing his books. So this is just nature. It really is. It's always been. But in 1996, that's when something really important happened, which is what we're going to be talking more about, because that's what basically started the cosmic Christ or cosmic Buddha consciousness wave sweeping around the world. And I'm saying this not as a claim, but as the truth, because it was a certain act that I performed of unconditional love that sent this into the collective consciousness of humanity. And we all know everything we do affects the whole, right? So this high frequency combined with an act of unconditional love set this in motion. And so that's what I really want to talk more about, because people are picking up now on the global consciousness that they're feeling from within, but a lot of people don't know where it's coming from. And when they know the source and they understand that it was through somebody doing something with an intention, it really becomes self-empowering, because then they say, well, then if that can happen, then I can be just as powerful. Everything I do also affects the whole.
Yes.
So that's why I love talking about it as a mirror and as an example only, so that people see their own power.
Right.
That's what I care about.
Good. Let's delve into that on the cosmic Christ consciousness and how it seeded our experience, the collective consciousness.
Well, the way it happened with me was I had already been interested in spiritual philosophy and like I said, was already very connected with Spirit in my own way. But after I had been to a Body, Mind, Spirit convention in Oslo and came home, I was still feeling very warm and energized by all of these energies. And, crystals and incense and lots of people around you. I'm very sensitive. And so I was in my home and trying to go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep because I was very warm. And I went and found one of my crystals, just a small citrin, and thought, well, I'll put it against my forehead just to cool my forehead down a bit. And, all of this was just guided, right? I didn't think about it in a mental level, but what happened is, our third eye is here. So I put this crystal on the record keepers, put it against my third eye and sat and sort of leaned like this, and then it just said whoosh. And I was seeing this bright little star spinning very, very rapidly, and I was zooming towards it, or it towards me. And my last thought was just, wow, this isn't something you experience every day.
Right.
It wasn't like a meditation. It was like something was happening, and I had lots and lots of words zoom by very, very fast, like a download. People know what they are now, but remember, this was back in 96, and this went for 50 minutes. And also geometrical shapes and all kinds of fluorescent, beautiful, vibrant colors we don't even have on Earth. I was way up there. And so for 50 minutes I sat that was the descent, which when I had finished, I was like, okay, now I remember why I'm here. And it was to seed this. This was to be spread for this age. So the next 3 days, I went gradually from eating to just liquids, very, very hot. My children were around me. We did a lot of symbolic acts together. All of this is written in my book. And the unconditional love act is very sacred to talk about. But in a nutshell, just to boil it down, is that I let myself be like a lamb, to the slaughter, or just giving up my own will for the will of humanity, and was in a ward to lead this at the darkest place a soul can be on earth without having committed a crime. And where is that? If you haven't committed a crime, you're not going to go to jail, right? But they'll put you in a psychiatric ward because they don't understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. I was completely coherent. I was speaking with the doctor upon admittance and telling a lot about my life and growing up, so I was completely coherent. I wasn't flipping out. But I was holding this high frequency, and the women sitting next to me, they became sunburnt. It's like the darshan, if you've heard that term, the vision of the divine, became sunburnt, and their eyes were all dazed because this frequency was so high. And in the ward, I was planting this seed, and I had to say goodbye to my 2 young children, and they were crying and wondering, why are you leaving? And I knew if I don't succeed, I could be dragged back into illusion. I could even lose my mind, worst case scenario. It was a real sacrifice, and I don't mean sacrifice as in suffering, but the true sense of the term is to make something sacred. It was to bring the consciousness at its lowest level, where there's a lot of torture mentally in psychiatric wards, and to seed it from there so it could only go up. You understand what I mean by that?
I do.
Yeah, to plant it at its deepest. And for that, I had to give up my will. So I was in the hands of the doctors and their mercy. And that's also you're giving up your will. And then what happened within the ward is also sacred in a sense, to just do rapidly the way we're doing now. But to give it a little bit of explanation, it's also what other people now, when they pick up on this consciousness, are going through. That's what I'm going to explain. I went back in time, healing my bloodline and everybody's, back to the beginning. So I was cleansing it with full consciousness, meaning I was facing it. I was having it run by my vision, whether my eyes were open or closed. I was looking at all the horror and terror and wars and mutilations and killings, everything we've done on earth since the beginning of time. All of that was flashing before my eyes. And I was crying and crying, but I was just letting it, because that's psychotherapy for you. It's you embrace it, you face it, and that's the cleansing. So after I had done that, and I was in there for a few days, that's when I started to see the ripple by, like I said, first doing the cleansing, like the death and resurrection process, waking up in the same body the next morning. Again, this is explained better in my book. I'm just doing it quickly now. But what people can refer to in their own life is that they go through a stage of transforming the ego to the higher self by having to really go through a dark night of the soul. And they're not just doing it for themselves individually, they're doing it for their entire bloodline back and for the whole, for everyone. So people experiencing this now, they can understand what they're going through. That's important. And then the way I could see it was working and spreading was, when I was getting something for myself to drink, I would always ask someone else if they wanted something too, because I have 2 hands, right? So I'd get something to drink for myself and for another, and then this caught on, so they would start to ask each other to bring, if they wanted something to drink, and I could see it working, and that was just the physical way of seeing it, but it meant the consciousness had and was spreading. See?
Right.
So, in a nutshell now, just that's the start, the origin of it.
Okay. So take us up to the present day. It took you, talk about the experiences you had while writing your book. The title of your book is, would you tell us the title of your book?
Star Avatar, Emergence of Messiah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure because I thought it had a different name. Now, you're the avatar?
Right. Well, we're all. I don't want to be the only. That's why it's titled A Messiah, because although I started this and I've held this frequency before, which is why I can do it, it's like, King Arthur and Excalibur. He was the one to pull the sword out of the stone, not because he was strong or better, but it was
right. His destiny.
That's all. It's my destiny, and I've known that since childhood. I had a unique destiny, but I didn't know until '96 when I remembered. But so more about the experiences, I explain this lifetime, I explain parallel lifetimes, I explain about astral travels and beyond. And this is again what people are experiencing now, more and more of their multidimensional self.
Right.
So this book functions as a way for people to read my experiences and go, oh, now I get what my own experience was. They understand it more from that.
Yeah.
And I had to wait about coming forward as my true self too until the time was right. So I had to be silent about this for 16 years. That's talk about women being suppressed. That was again experiencing it in this incarnation, in this body,
Right.
not being able to say who I am until December 21, 2012. And then you're just hit with projections and why and all of that. And you just got to stay firm and strong in knowing I know who I am. I know what I'm doing, and I've written it all down. You can see, you can check the dates, the horoscopes. It's all there, And most people who we're talking to now, who are open, they understand that because they're having it themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the feminine Christ.
Yes. Okay. So the feminine Christ is basically that we have shifted now into a new age, and the divine feminine is not here to be, above the masculine, but it's going to be more moving in a feminine way, which is more intuitive, more heart-based, more compassionate, gentler. And we also need to use the masculine force, but we want to use force with thought behind it, with determination and reaching a goal and being firm and saying no when we have to, but not using aggression, which is more tied to the old patriarchal way, and also getting rid of hierarchies. We don't need hierarchies. We can be proud that we have unique talents and everybody shares their different talents,
Right.
And then we can be like flowers with unique gifts we all bring, and none is better or worse than the other. And this is the sisterhood that's, the brothers, they'll get it too. They don't need to be in gangs to get a brotherhood. They can now start to hug each other and, embrace meeting each other. This is sisterhood, brotherhood energy.
Yeah, and it's to be on a risen conscious level as opposed to the level that we've been at for thousands of years, or we've been evolving, but still, yeah.
Yes, well, the last 2,000 have been very dominated by certain forces and church and seeing the divine as something out there we have to bow down to. And on the contrary, one of the things I bring through is let's stop the bowing, because bowing indicates you're in your head and you need to lower your head in front of someone. No, we hold our hand on our heart where we feel each other, and we don't need to bow. We meet each other in equality, heart to heart, and standing tall, There's no pride in that when you're in your heart.
Right.
So this is one of the other ways we can change how we see each other, by our greeting. And that's what I love about being a mirror as the feminine Christ. It's so simple, it's so back to basics. Everybody should really understand how natural and simple this is, what we're doing. It's changing our ways.
It's beautiful. And when we live in that space of divine love or the feminine Christ, it's really a very beautiful place. There's so much more joy, so much more tenderness, compassion, understanding of where we are at this moment in time. It's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah,
wonderful.
And that understanding where we are brings me to, like people understanding that they're not just moving through life like a leaf blowing in the wind. If they notice their synchronicities more, which people are doing with the 1111, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And they're noticing, and they're like, but where does it come from? What does it mean? And, well, there's a story behind it, and it means you're in the flow. Right. And you're not just a leaf in the wind, you're plugged in too. Yeah.
Your conscious awareness is activated.
Yeah.
And especially when you notice the 1111, but when you notice the 111 or 222, 333, 444, 555, it's beautiful. 1010, 1212, yeah.
Right.
I notice those all day long, and it's I love it because sometimes I'll go, I bet it's 10:10, and I'll look and it's 10:10. It's great. And one thing about the growth of our soul is that we can learn also from other people's experiences experientially, because we've lived this before, and so it's almost like the aha moment comes, and oh yes. So that's why we're doing these summits, is for everybody to get the aha moments. Yeah, it's beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about self-love. As you know that you and I both know that just about every spiritual person is now into self-love, which is beautiful. So let's talk about that, because everybody has a slightly different, the overall genre is the same, but we all go about it slightly different, and that's what's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is one of the things that comes with the shift. Instead of, love others as you love yourself, it's love the self and then love others, and the self is then capitalized self. It's the highest self, and it means that when you've filled yourself up, that's when you are able to love and give others without being drained, which a lot of people who wake up, they might want to start to serve, and it's good, but if they've still got issues, they might become drained very easily because their heart is so big, and they don't necessarily know how to say no and this type of thing. So I've used the example many times of when I used to work as a flight attendant for Scandinavian Airlines, and we did the safety training on board. Not the safety training, the safety announcement.
Right.
And we're talking about the oxygen mask.
Yes.
Pull down the oxygen mask and put it first on yourself and then help others. And it's logical, without oxygen, you're not going to be much help for others. So I use that image to explain. And selfish, if it's with capital S, means you're honoring the self. And how do we do it? Well, what do you love to do? What did you love to do as a child? What were your passions and interests, right? If you loved writing fairy tales or reading fairy tales, maybe your task here now is to access those higher dimensions and bring it through, chant it through and write it. Or painting, or you were out in nature a lot, so you might get into agriculture and health eating and living. Look back to your childhood, that's a clue. Right. And look at your own dreams and follow those, and that's honoring yourself. And I was going
to say, go ahead.
Because I know there's a lot of talk about we're not supposed to watch TV. TV's full of, horrible programs, and it's not good for us, and some people might be a bit extreme and want to throw out their TV because they become spiritual, but there's a balance in all things, and you can keep your TV and just choose consciously, right?
Right.
And there are so many good programs coming out now, and films that are also reflecting the consciousness that's needed. And so you can watch a movie in the evenings after you've had a long day of serving or working or whatever you do, and enjoy that and feel you're not taking a time out from your service. You're honoring the self. You're letting this beautiful movie, an inspirational film, whatever it is, wash over you, and it's healing you and adjusting you because you're relaxing and you're being inspired. And it's actually, it can be meditative for you, or what's the word? Healing
It's also it can be a learning process, because I've discovered recently, I took years off from TV, and when I was dating my husband, he's also a spiritual teacher, but he'd like to watch, a little TV before bed, and what I noticed was, since I had shifted my consciousness years before, and I had stopped watching TV, I was viewing things differently on TV. Yeah. I was seeing more of the, oh my goodness, the media and TV is actually sending out messages to us that are very powerful. They're training society to think a certain way. But one thing that I don't think they realize is society on a whole is going to find it, oh, this is really cool and interesting. They're not going to understand until they make the conscious shift. Because I remember when I was in there were 10 years when I should call my book about that part of my life called The 10 Years, because there were 10 years where I was not well, and I couldn't grasp what they were talking about. But when I saw it again, when I reawoken, because there are many times in my life too that I've had awakenings and we always rise above each time. And I was also a spiritual little girl too, and so and talked to God a lot in my sorrow and pain. But there were times that I was entertained, but I couldn't grasp the full capacity of what I was seeing until later on in life, when I was more awake and my brain was awake and I was thinking differently. And it's like, oh wow, the media and TV are showing us that there's truly higher levels of consciousness out there that we're not even, we think are just don't even exist. Well, that's arrogance. So I like that you brought that up. Also, I wanted to say, very much so, I'm a believer that we go back to our childhood to find our passion in life, because that's truly where it all began. So you're one of the first, besides me, that I've heard, and I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, okay, so let's say thousands of people over the last 5 years that I've ever heard them say that. So bravo, sister.
Inner child, right? This is the whole, when we go through that death and resurrection process that everybody now are actually doing, the ones who are waking up are doing that. While in the body, you don't leave the body, but you go through that for yourself and for others. Then what's born again is the child. That's where all the joy comes in, the innocent child. This is in the tarot, right? That would be number 19, the sun. I don't know if you know the tarot card.
I'm a reader, but I'm not a tarot card reader.
Okay. Well, number 19.
I'm told I'm supposed to be, but I haven't gone there yet. I read angel cards and that kind of stuff, and goddess cards, but I don't read the others.
Right.
But go
well,
ahead.
These are the ones that are the mystical ones that actually have the hero's journey in its entirety. And I'm not even talking about all 78. Just the 22 major arcana alone show the hero's journey, which we all go through. And so number 19 is the third to last. There's 22, but it starts with 0, so 21 is the last one. So 19 is the sun, and on the image you have this little child, that's the Christ child on the white horse. It's been born again, it's been through death, and a long, long journey. And then comes 20, judgment, and then comes 21, the world. So I would recommend people also for their self-empowerment to know a bit more about their own numbers. And
That's
when they
funny.
know the
That's funny you said that. Growing up, 19 was my favorite number.
There you go. Maybe you are a 19. I'm a 19.
That's wild.
If you count 8, 1965, that's 19, which is 1 and 9 is 10 and 1. So those are my 3 major cards. Because the birth date you can't change. You can change your name. You can't change your birth date. So 19, 10, 1, those are my major numbers. And those are in the tarot. So that's what I meant by people, and you yourself too. You want to look at those and see what's the theme, because they're going to be life themes for you. Really and truly.
Yeah, interesting. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Let's talk about self-empowerment.
Yeah. So
which we almost did. We almost did cover all that, but let's continue.
Yeah. That's one of the ways I would really recommend people. I think that in a lot of people's eyes, they really underestimate astrology and tarot and numerology and the Kabbalah. And these 4 together form like a unit of holy science. They're interrelated, and if you know a bit about these 4 sciences, you can know all there is to know about yourself, in addition to your inner dreams and meditations, as I said earlier. Everything that comes from within is the most important because it's authentic. It will be from your own inner self. But in addition to know thyself, you've got your astrology, your birth chart, you've got the numbers in your life, Kabbalah, and tarot, where you find out which energies are part of your makeup according to your numbers, you see. So very, very, very valuable and not to be underestimated. And I promise in the future, that's going to be in child level schools. We're going to bring this back. This is symbolic knowledge, very, very important for this age.
That's so strange you said that. I had this amazing dream about 2 years ago, and I woke up so excited and told my now husband, oh my God, honey, we're going to be teaching this in school. We're going to be teaching this in school. In like 10 years, we're going to be teaching this in school. And he was like, that's so beautiful. And I'm like, I saw it. It was incredible. It was very beautiful. So
it really is. And why know thyself? What's the point? Well, for that inner harmony and peace, because when you know who you are, nobody can take it away from you. Right, exactly. You don't have to feel insecure around other people. Nobody can take that power from you. You are yourself, your highest self. So that's why I recommend everybody really dive into your own self and your world and your numbers and be fascinated by yourself. And then when you meet others like you and I, oh, I'm a Leo too. It's like, yay, I'm like that too. And we are all one, right? So it just becomes very joyful.
Right.
And we get rid of all kinds of competition and I'm better and you're better. And oh, there's this beautiful little picture that's been around Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it. 2 little cartoons. And it says something about stop comparing yourself to others. And it says, awesome over the one, also awesome over the other.
That's cute. That is cute. That's
So
cute.
that's what we want. We want to be sisters and brothers and love each other.
I saw a cute cartoon that I saved to my phone, and I'm going to use at some point. It's this funny little character that we've seen in movies lately, or the image. He has like one eye, and he looks like a little construction worker, just a little.
Right.
And it says, "I'm totally awesome. I never said I was perfect." And I'm like, that's great, because we are totally awesome, and we're imperfectly perfect. We are perfect in the eyes of God, and that realm, of course we are. But to another human being that may not have acknowledged their own soul yet, to understand that their soul in a human body in a temple, they may see other people as quite imperfect, that are uncertain. And so it's to actually get in touch with our soul and understand that, and start to look at people for their soul. I've done that many times. Normally I do it, but I was at the gym working out, I think it was last week, and I looked up from the treadmill. I was going really fast. I wasn't running, but I'm a fast walker. And so I used to race people too. It was fun. And I was looking at this man struggling on some of the equipment, an older man, and I thought, how blessed, just like I feel going back to working out after taking off 2 years, how blessed this experience. And when I reversed that and looked into his soul, I was just even so much more glorified of everybody around me. And if we do that on a regular basis, to look for the soul and not the human elements that they contain, it's incredible. It's totally incredible. And
everybody is soul. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And then there are people that aren't, like 90% of the population, maybe 95, aren't ready to hear this. And so when you do talk about souls, sometimes they're like, what are you talking about? But it's okay, because at one point, either here in this lifetime or when they come back, they'll get it. They'll learn. So, although we wish that everybody gets it now. So without pushing, we want to bless everybody with that knowledge. So
well, this is why the cosmic Christ consciousness in this age was seeded from within. Very, very important point, because of the type of missioning that has been done, which was forceful. It was too much, right? And it was imposing. And I'm very clear about I never, ever, ever impose myself on others. I compare myself to the star glyphs that come to Wiltshire or other places around the world, every year. Crop circles, I call them star glyphs.
I love crop circles. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they just come, they land there, and they have a little energy and message, and people can come to them. They don't intrude. And I'm very much like that too. So I love to be invited to come and talk where I'm welcome, but I don't go out and force myself on people, because it wouldn't be right. People are waking up from within because it's already been seeded.
Right.
It's already, everybody's listening to their inner voice. That's the voice I'm speaking here. It's their own inner voice.
Yes.
So when the time is right, we'll connect.
It's beautiful. We're almost out of time, so share with us your free gift.
Right. Well, I'm going to give away my book as a free gift to everybody who's listening to us today. It's over 400 pages, so you're not going to get the paperback version, but the PDF file.
That's wonderful.
So people just have to go to my website, which is ascendedavalon.com.
And this will also be in the credits.
Good, so they know how to spell it, and they'll find it.
Yes.
And there you sign up for my free newsletter, and when you do, make a short note that I was on Mia's, show and heard you, and I will send the PDF file. Great.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And what last message would you like to leave us with?
Well, short and simple. Keep shining. Just never let anybody dim your sparkle, as we say. My daughter and I, we say sparkle. And
that's cute.
And I mean, if life gives you some lemons, you make lemonade, basically. I mean, this is basic knowledge people already know, but my passion is I love people. I love connecting with people. I'm so happy when people write to me and say, I saw you there or there, and I love what you're doing. And I feel the same way about everybody else. They're all waking up. We're doing this together, right? Yeah. I seeded something, but everybody is taking part. This is a group thing, and I embrace everyone, and I'm so grateful for the beautiful souls that are here.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. It's been
Thank
a pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you. And we'll see you all next week in the next segment.